Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. I'm your host Rob. This video we're going to do a little bit of follow-up to the review of the trailer I did earlier this afternoon. And I also have some excellent, exciting breaking news on the Godzilla front that I'm going to share with you after this. Okay guys, welcome back. So first of all, now the breaking news that I want to share, very big, very big. I just want to announce that at 11:23 p.m., nearly 12 hours after I did my reaction video, there's still people telling me that the Statue of Liberty is in Las Vegas. Yes, that's the breaking news. Apparently people don't seem to realize that by now. I probably would figure it out from the 1 million people that have posted that the Statue of Liberty is in Vegas and not in New York. Thank you. I understand. We can stop commenting now. Oh my God. I can't believe, today has been a very scary day for me. Obviously the trailer's been a great experience. But I am very afraid for mankind. The lack of common sense is disturbing. I would think by now people would know that maybe 100 other people might beat them to the punch. I did that reaction review exactly at the time the trailer dropped. My first reaction seeing it. So, I mean, I'm not going to dissect it right off the bat. I mean, when I see the Statue of Liberty mangled, the last thing I'm going to think about while watching a Godzilla trailer that I've only been waiting for like a gazillion years, the last thing I'm going to look for are mountains in the background. Like I'm going to say, oh wow, that's a wrecked Statue of Liberty, but forget that. Look at that mountain back there. It's beautiful. My God, that'd be a nice place to camp. You know what? Let's just go camp there. Forget about Godzilla trailer. Forget about, I mean, so I understand a lot of you are well-intended, but I want you to know the Statue of Liberty is a replica. That's a replica, the one that's in Vegas. Okay? All right, let's move on. Wow. Very, okay. Very scary that's still being, that comment still popping up almost 12 hours later. Ouch. Very afraid for the future of mankind in the common sense department. Okay, so trailer follow-up. Now, one of the things I didn't touch on, I'm going to get right to it right now. The cave with Dr. Serizawa and the spinal or the rib cage, the big fossil in that cave. That's probably one thing that's got me thrown a little off right now because I really don't know where that plays. I really don't know what it is, what it represents. Maybe they're going to go on a route where maybe there have been large monsters that have traveled the world before. And maybe this is not, while it's new to the human race because this is the first time they're seeing it, maybe this is not a new thing on Earth. Maybe what we thought were the dinosaurs were either de-evolved or I'm just speculating. I don't know where to go with that, so that I can't say what that is unless there was an ancient battle years and years before the human race touched Earth between Godzilla and some giant monster, because Dr. Serizawa said we awoken something, so apparently Godzilla was already there. I don't know if they're gonna really go into detail about his origin, because if they're already talking about fighting him and they're already talking about they tried to kill him in 1954. I guess my question is now, how did they cover that up for so many years, and what brought him back? We pretty much probably know what brought him back, but how did they even get him to go back to sleep? So I guess the question now is, are they really going to do the whole oxygen destroyer thing? Maybe that cave in that we see, maybe that's the old Godzilla fossil, or I don't know. It's really kind of hard to dissect that. And if you go that route, linking it to the original 54 movie, then that just opens up a whole can of worms. And considering it's listed officially as a reboot and not a remake, Yeah, I don't know how much they're gonna dig into that. I don't know how much he's gonna use that as his source, or as his reference. We'll just have to wait. That one right now is a mystery to me. We'll have to wait for that one, and I very much doubt we'll find out much about it leading up until we get to the movie. Now, other things to discuss. Now, we did also talk about the cover-ups, okay? And now looking back at the trailer and listening to Cranston, as well as Serizawa, it sounds like there might have been two. You know, we hear Sally Hawkins in the background talking about, remember all that nuclear testing, they weren't tests. And then Serizawa's like, we tried to kill it. Well, I mean, so it sounds like in 1954, while they were dropping nukes on Godzilla trying to kill him, they were passing it off to the world as nuclear testing. Which means that, and again, another thing that I speculated in one of my older videos, which means that it could be very likely that Hiroshima wasn't Hiroshima, or Hiroshima was an accident. Maybe Godzilla touched ground. They either bombed the shit out of him with nukes and Hiroshima was collateral damage, or Godzilla rampaged Hiroshima and Nagasaki and they said nuclear bombs were the cause of that damage. And they tried to cover it up for many, many years. And then Cranston seems to be referring to something a little bit more recent in the cover-up category, talking about 15 years ago. I'm guessing that might be more Muto related. I think it's kind of starting to come to me now that they knew Godzilla existed and they wanted to try to create something to stop him if he ever came back. And I think that's where the Muto come in. But I think the Muto plan backfires on them, and then Godzilla actually turns out to be an anti-hero. Again, just a guess, just a speculation. Now, in terms of the other monsters in the movie that we see in the trailer, like the bird dive going into the water, and the claw, as well as, the monster passing through the bridge. Now, again, I took another good look at that, and I can tell you right now, that's not Godzilla. I know that for a fact. The red, some people mentioned that the red could be a reflection of the fire there. I agree with that. That looks like that might be the case. Either way, that's definitely not Godzilla going through that bridge. I can just tell by looking at the spikes. I looked at it another 5 times. That's not him. Definitely not him. So, whatever, if we're going to stick to the plan that there's 2 Muto, that to me, this is where I get confused. And maybe it is Godzilla. I don't know. Maybe there's a different form of it or something. But I can just tell by looking at the spikes, it's not him. So now my question is this. We got a good view of the flying Muto, okay? Did the dive from the sky. Some people are arguing that that's a plane. I don't buy it. I mean, we on the Nation Facebook page, we have, I think, several people put up pictures of that thing, resized it, tried to zoom in, and you can clearly see that, to me at least, that's not a plane. And then plus the cut scene right after that is something nosediving right into the water, and if you look at the back of it, it doesn't have, number one, it doesn't have a tail like a plane. Number two, it's much too large. So that's the flying Muto. Let's get that. Now the hook on the floor, a couple other people in comments, these comments were not Vegas related. Not Vegas related. These a lot of people said, oh, well, that could still be the flying Muto. And they were referring to dinosaurs, and I think some of them said pterodactyls or pterodons or whatever the case may be. So that's a good assessment. I'm not a dinosaur expert. So that could still be the flying Muto with a little hook on its wing, which kind of makes sense because one of the things they described about the flying Muto, or the winged Muto as it says, is that it's very large. It's a very, very large creature. And the other thing is that the Muto that the infamous Muto that none of us got to see if you weren't in Comic-Con in the trailer was very tiny. But nobody mentioned that the smaller Muto of the two at the airport had any spikes on its back. But again, that could change. I said this in another one. God, I got so many of these freaking videos. And I just remember saying this stuff when I talk about it, it comes back to me. But one of the things I speculated is that what they saw at Comic-Con in 2013 could very well change by now. So I don't know if that Muto they saw in the airport is going to look like what we're going to see in the movie. So it could be that that's a feature they added. It could be a completely separate monster. It's all a question of what you want to think. I mean, yes, Legendary said there's two other monsters aside from Godzilla. Yes, Legendary said they don't have the rights to Toho, or whatever the case may be. I still see some of these comments in the comments today all day outside of the Vegas comments. Outside of the Vegas comments, people still say, "Oh, Legendary didn't give this, Legendary," and again, we all know this. Okay, it's speculation, but still, my point is this: when somebody brings me either proof that they were in the boardroom during negotiations, and I've said this 100 times before, then you can tell me that they're telling me the truth. Because, remember, these guys, look at the kind of cap they've been putting on this movie. They don't want nobody knowing a goddamn thing. So the last thing they're going to announce is that if they had the rights to use some Toho monsters, you think they're going to announce that? No, they're going to want to go for the element of surprise. So don't be 100% sure that they don't either have rights or at least the right to use some features. I still would not be surprised if we see a monster that is an original creation but adapts some design from original Toho monsters. And you know what? If we see something completely new, then that's fine too, because it looks like from the very little bit that we've seen, it looks like they got a nice design going on so far. I mean, that flying Muto diving into the water looks insane. If that is indeed his hook during the city shot, incredible. Just the scale. The other thing I want to note too was the shot where the people are running from the wave of water coming in. That's another thing that kind of gives me the idea of the scale of whether that's Godzilla that causes that or one of the Muto monsters. But for a monster to cause that kind of tidal wave going through a city, that's pretty sick. And maybe that's because one of the monsters come up from the ground. There's a lot of subterranean stuff here. I mean, now, another interesting thing, somebody else mentioned this on the comments below. Not this video, obviously, but some of the other videos, not Vegas related, that the canister that had the radiation sign on it and all the white goop on it, thinking that a Mutos might have popped out of there. I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's a good assessment. It seems to be that the Mutos are definitely nuclear related. I think what they did was they tried to maybe adapt some of the features of Godzilla when they realized his resistance to nuclear energy. They probably assumed or did some sort of study. They could have taken Godzilla cells and stuff. They, during the fight, they might have found some Godzilla cells and stuff like that. Maybe did some studies and realized that he is energy driven and tried to use that as a source to create the Mutos, the Muto monsters. And I ask the question now, whether or not the Mutos are created, which it sounds like it is based on the description, or rather the synopsis that you read on the movie website, and as well as the wiki page, which leads me to my next point. There were also a couple of people commenting on the comments throughout the day, not Vegas related, that a couple of people were like, "Oh, you see, Rob, it is the leaked script, blah, blah, blah." Well, here's the problem, okay? First of all, there were like 100 leaked scripts, or at least 3 that I know of. I only read 1, okay? Because if the leaks are real or not, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but I did read 1, and I can already tell you right now that the 1 leaked script that I did read was complete bullshit, because you can just read, I don't even have to see the second trailer. You can just read the synopsis and know the difference. In that leaked trailer, they described the Mutos being wrapped around Godzilla in some sort of iceberg, and they were already created, where on the wiki page and the official Godzilla movie page, it says that these creatures are bolstered by man's scientific arrogance. Based on the radiation canister, based on the sack of eggs or tentacle or tail, whatever it is that looks like it's sucking up on a nuclear dickhead warhead missile, I think it's safe to say these guys weren't humping Godzilla frozen in suspended animation in an iceberg. So get the fuck out of here with that leak. All right, anyway, back to the point. So So obviously, you know, again, and lots of stuff going on here, lots of unanswered questions. Um, it's just a matter of waiting now. I mean, what are we like 78 days away, 80 days away? I don't know. I don't. I mean, to me, it's just like February, March, April, and then May. You know what I mean? So, and we're almost out of February. So, but you know, again, it's a very good trailer. I've had time to take a good look at it. Obviously, there's still, you know, because I really do hate to pause it. I like to see it through. But like I said, the thing that catches my biggest attention in this trailer, the thing that I'm going to look out for is the creature crossing under the bridge with the spikes. I think that's pretty significant because, again, when they described the monster at the Comic-Con trailer, that monster was described as an arachnid. Could have changed, but let's just assume maybe it didn't for now. The flying Muto, very, very interesting. It looks like that. I mean, is it going to be a bird? Somebody said that they heard somebody describe the toy as something that could fly, spread wings, but also land and stand up on 2 feet. So, could be possible. Another person talked about Godzilla when he's going through the city and you see the end of his tail. It was very Zilla-like. I got to say that. Was very, very Zilla / Gino-like in that kind of movement and the way his tail flowed. But again, going back to my expectation or my speculation that I think he's going to have a little bit more agility in this one. A lot of people talking about how they use like a bear in terms a bear and Komodo dragon, I think it was, to describe some of his movements and some of his fighting. At the end, he looked very bear-like. That roar, that with his mouth open was very bear-like. And if that's the case, agility, bears are very fast. Bears are not slow animals. They are quick. They're just brute. They're brute. They'll, so can you imagine Godzilla using his agility or using his running speed through a city? I mean, it's just astronomical. And last but not least, obviously, the destruction is just incredible. And I'm almost certain we're just seeing a glimpse of it. I'm almost certain we're not even getting 1 ounce of, the kind of destruction we're going to see. Obviously, San Francisco, we know about Hawaii, we know about Japan, we know about Vegas now. We know about Vegas. Vegas, big deal. Big deal now. 11 hours people have been talking about Vegas, so it's a big, big deal. Will Godzilla gamble? Will he gamble in Vegas? So, but anyway, guys, that's it. I mean, that's my follow-up. We will talk more speculation on the live stream on Friday, and of course, you can expect to see more speculation videos starting next week. Now, I think my task is going to be looking through the trailer again, looking through the older trailer, and then just kind of going to all the resourceful information I know that I have in terms of the movie and kind of putting it together and see what I come up with. So that's it, guys. That's it for this video. This is the follow-up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry, it's very long-winded, but there's a lot to cover. People have a lot of questions. Oh, and one last thing. I know there's a lot of people mentioning Toho Monsters, like Destroyer and this and that and this and that. We don't know. At the end of the day, we don't know. But if I was a betting man, if I was a betting man, I would at least assume that the one flying through the sky that dives into the water would be Rodan. That I think, not saying that is obviously, but if I had to guess, if someone said, if a Toho monster was in this movie, which one do you think you see? The one that seems most obvious to me that I see would be Rodan. But at the end of the day, we're not going to find out till the movie. So, and that's it. That's it for this video, guys. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news. We just talk entertainment. See you guys next video. Take it easy.